Hello everybody and welcome back to this vlog thing. This is attempt 2 because I rambled on a bit and didn't feel like editing all that rambling. So I'm going to try and be a bit more concise with this version. Two things to talk about. First, very briefly, because I didn't really like it, Hitchhiker's Guide, Hexagonal Phase. It was based on a book that I didn't like. It probably wasn't going to work out well, but I was slightly hopeful because it was the original cast back. But they were nowhere near good enough to make a difference to the story. I got 2 episodes into the 6 and gave up. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you disagree, particularly if you were someone who didn't like the book but enjoyed this radio adaptation. The second thing, and the thing that sort of occasioned this, is the fact that I've finally got around to seeing The Last Jedi. I am the parent of almost 1-year-old, so I haven't been to cinema for a while, and I'm well behind. I think I'm 4 Marvel movies behind. And I hadn't seen Last Jedi. I definitely haven't seen Solo. Will not make it to the cinema to see Solo. But I finally got around to seeing Last Jedi the other night, and I thought I'd share a few thoughts. Now I realise I'm very late to the party here, but I will give you the warning. This contains spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you are even further behind watching than me, don't carry on watching. The first thing to say is that I had remained largely spoiler-free going into the film. I had seen bits and bobs online which suggested that Luke wasn't going to make it out of the film alive. But that wasn't entirely surprising, in the same way that Han dying in Force Awakens was not at all surprising. So I didn't feel that I'd had the story spoiled in any way. The other thing was that there's a bit on a casino planet which is superfluous. That seemed to be the other major comment that I'd come across. I had seen lots of non-spoiler reaction at the time and since. Largely divided into, this was a terrible film and it's ruined my childhood, and this was a brave and interesting way of taking the franchise. And I was expecting to go one of those 2 ways. Having watched the film, I find myself somewhere pretty much slap bang in the middle, because I didn't think it was anywhere near as controversial as people were making out. And maybe because of that, I didn't think it was anywhere near interesting enough to be anything other than yet another derivative Star Wars film. The reason I say that, and I don't think I'm saying anything particularly original here, I've seen other people kind of suggest this stuff. Force Awakens was very derivative of A New Hope, and this was derivative of bits of, sort of putting them in various different orders, but very derivative of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, sort of mushed into one. So in that sense, it felt very much like a Star Wars film. The sort of overarching plot of them running away from the Empire whilst running out of fuel, that felt very Battlestar Galactica. So maybe new to Star Wars, but not a new idea. And then the sort of slightly superfluous casino bit, that was a bit meh. So nothing particularly well, okay, so the bits that people were talking about was obviously all the Jedi-y stuff, Luke's abilities, all that kind of thing, and I was just like, well, whatever. Fine. If you're just taking the movies as canon, there's still plenty of holes and gaps to be filled in what the Jedi can and can't do, what the Force is. Why not have all the things that happen in this film happen? That was fine. Some of it was actually interesting. Some of it, because it was new, made it a more interesting film. But in the main, I found it very derivative. And so, if I'm honest, I'm not that bothered about rewatching The Force Awakens. I'm not really that bothered about rewatching this. If I want to watch those stories, I'll watch the original trilogy. My favourite film of this current batch of Star Wars films is Rogue One, because it's different. It tries to do a different story in the Star Wars universe. Yes, it ends up at a place that we know it's going to end up. But it was an interesting and somewhat unexpected ride to get there. Whereas Force Awakens and Last Jedi were largely predictable. See, the thing is, the original trilogy has a hero called Luke. And this trilogy has Rey in that mould, right? And she's a perfectly great character, interesting, brilliant. But he's called Luke, I'm called Luke, and I saw those films when I was a kid, and I'm seeing these as an adult. There's no real contest as to which I'm going to find more resonant and more returnable to. I've no doubt that if you're the age I was when I first saw Star Wars and you're watching Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, if those are your first exposure to Star Wars, then brilliant. You're going to enjoy those. Those are going to be your things, and you're going to go back and watch the old ones and find those derivative because you've watched them in the wrong order. I mean, it's the same as what happened when John Carter came out. It felt derivative, but only because nobody ever made a movie of it before. All those other movies that we've seen, like Star Wars, borrowed from it. And so when it came along as a movie, people were like, "Oh, this is derivative." Well, it wasn't. It's just the order in which these things happen. So I end on a positive note, which is to say that I think because we've had a sort of rerun of the original 3 films in 2 films, that hopefully leaves Episode 9 free to be something different. Because we've already killed the Emperor in Snoke, and Luke's dead, so we've just got what happens with Kylo and Rey left in the final film, but there are no kind of mentor figures left, really, particularly as Leia is not going to be in it because Carrie Fisher died. So that film feels much more like an unknown quantity and therefore something more interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to that in, what is it? Well, I'll probably not see it for a couple of years, will I? Love to hear your thoughts. Please pop a comment down below if you agree, disagree. I'd love to have a discussion. If you click up there, that will be the last episode of this vlog. If you click down there, that will be the next episode, or if this is the most current episode, that will be a playlist of all the vlogs in the series so far. And if you click on my face, that will be where you can subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed.